G'day there, my name's Kerry Miles and my business is to help farmers and bulk handlers store grain for maximum profit. This video is designed for you on the farm. It'll show you how to correctly apply Bayer's K-obiol combi grain protectant so you can easily and safely protect your grain and grain income. K-obiol is a proven grain protectant. It's been used by bulk handlers for over 10 years. Its active is deltamethrin, synthetic pyrethroid. Essentially, there are two ways to protect grain from insect infestation, with a fumigant or with a protectant. Because a fumigant is a gas, it can only be used in a gas-tight sealed storage and becomes ineffective once the storage is opened. K-obiol, on the other hand, is a protectant. This means it can be used in an unsealed storage and will protect your grain for up to 9 months after treatment. While K-obiol gives reliable long-term protection, its active deltamethrin has maximum levels that are acceptable in Australian and overseas markets. This is why it is so important for you to follow the directions on the label and on this video. In Australia, we have a maximum residue level, or MRL, of 1 part per million of deltamethrin on products that enter the food chain, and many of the countries we export to have similar standards. If you treat with K-obiol properly, you'll be within this level. There is more information on this on our training website, and you can also visit the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Authority website. And the good news is, if you treat your grain properly, the MRL won't be exceeded. And there are no uses in Australia where K-obiol treated grain is not accepted. The only exception to this is pesticide residue free or PRF markets, or where the food is certified organic. The key to protecting your income is to use K-obiol properly. But before we get going, we need to be clear on what types of grain we can treat and what we can protect against. Firstly, K-obiol can be used to treat wheat, moulding barley, oats, sorghum and most other cereal grains, but cannot be used on oilseeds and pulses. Secondly, while K-obiol will give your grain long-term protection from all insect infestations, it does not kill live insects, so it's important that your grain is not infested before treatment. There are 4 simple steps to applying K-obiol. First, you'll need your auger, and you'll need a spray pump with a spray nozzle. Now this last bit's important. It is essential that K-obiol is sprayed onto the grain rather than just drip fed on. The reason for this is that the mixture settles on the bottom of the tank, and so it needs to be agitated to ensure you have the same amount of active going on the grain the whole time. Now you may have heard of some farmers drip feeding the chemical onto the grain. This is not the way to go. The problem with this is you get high concentrations in some areas and inadequate concentrations in others. In other words, you won't be protecting your grain properly. Now you probably already know this, but if in doubt, you need to check how long it takes your auger to load a tonne of the type of grain you're intending to treat. Now this is because, as you know, different types of grain can load at slightly different rates. For example, let's say you know it takes your auger 35 minutes to fill a 27-tonne truck with wheat. 27 tonnes divided by 35 in the minutes equals 0.77 tonnes per minute. 0.77 multiplied by 60 equals 46 tonnes per hour. We'll come back to that figure later. Step 2. Set up your spray unit. Locate your nozzle and adjust as required. No doubt many of you have your own system, but whatever way you do it, the objective should be to minimise spray drift and get even coverage of your grain and maximise the mixing effect of the auger. As you can see, we have ours set up to go directly into the barrel of the auger, fairly close to where the grain is picked up, which is a good way to go. Spraying the grain before it enters the auger is not recommended, as it does not give even coverage. Next, adjust your spray unit to put out 1 litre of chemical for every tonne of grain that's travelling up the auger. It's easy to remember because 1 tonne of grain for every litre of chemical. With our example we gave before, our auger was loading 0.77 tonnes every minute, so we need to adjust our spray unit to put out 0.77 litres or 770 mils every minute. Once you know how long it takes your auger to load a tonne, you can use water to set up your spray unit without having to actually use spray or grain. And finally, this is obvious. Ensure you have enough chemical and fuel to cover the grain you're going to load. You want to make sure that your grain is fully protected. Okay, step 3 is to mix your K-obiol spray. To protect your grain fully, you'll need to achieve 1 part per million of deltamethrin. This is easy to do in the following way. 2 litres of K-obiol diluted to 100 litres of water treats 100 tonne of grain, You can see how this works out on our online training. Today I want to treat 200 tonnes of grain. So I'll start with 4 litres of chemical in the bottom of the tank, and I've topped up the tank to the 200 litre mark. Now the normal precautions apply when mixing chemical, so we want to make sure it's properly kitted out. Elbow length gloves, respirator, apron, face shield or goggles, and cotton overalls buttoned to the neck and to the wrist. Skin contact with K-obiol can cause strong skin reactions to some people, but these will usually settle down within 1 to 2 hours. The best way to avoid this is to use the correct safety equipment. Step 4, start your auger, start your spray pump and start unloading your grain. It's a good idea to check your spray unit now and then to ensure that your grain is being treated correctly. If you have spray left over, K-obiol has an effective life of 7 days once diluted, so you can use it as long as it's within that 7-day period. When your drums are empty, triple rinse them and pour the rinsings back into the tank. And so to sum up, K-obiol treated grain is acceptable for any use in Australia, but you need to treat it properly. You must only treat grain with K-obiol once. Stick exactly to the recommended dilution rate and application rate. Using more product will not give you longer or more effective protection, and using less will give you inadequate protection and defeat what you were trying to achieve. On behalf of Bayer, thanks for listening and best wishes for the season.